Why Cargo Airlines love Anchorage so much. Anchorage is Alaska's largest city, but unlike many big cities, it's not afraid to embrace its wild side. The city is nicknamed the Anchorage Bowl because of its surprisingly flat geography, which exists in contrast to its mountainous surroundings. Anchorage offers a unique blend of urban sophistication and is home to world-class museums, art galleries, seafood restaurants, and of course, one of the biggest airports in the United States. Serving 24 national and international cities, Ted Stevens Airport in Anchorage is considered the third busiest cargo airport in the world. The airport connects Alaska with the world, making trips to places like Seattle, Portland, Chicago, and even Minneapolis a breeze. It's also a major airport in Alaska, located 5 miles southwest of downtown Anchorage. In 2020, Anchorage ranked as the United States' second busiest airport and the world's fourth busiest airport by cargo traffic, a position that it has strived to maintain in the past years. To put things into perspective, Anchorage is a busy airport because of the many cargo airlines which choose to stop over here before heading to their respective destinations, and most of these airlines usually travel between Asia and the United States. Think about it. Because of the Earth's shape, the shortest distance between Asia and the US is actually up and through Alaska, which means that it can be an ideal stop for cargo airlines like FedEx, Polar Air, and UPS. So why does Anchorage have so much cargo traffic? And why do these cargoes love to stop at Anchorage instead of heading to their destinations? Let's find out. The first piece of the puzzle is location. If you take a globe and spin it, you'll find that Anchorage is located midway between the powerhouses of Asia and North America. In fact, cities like Tokyo and Seoul are practically its next-door neighbors, while major hubs like New York and Chicago are a comfortable distance away. This geographical advantage translates into a golden opportunity for cargo carriers, as 90% of the world's industrialized zones are within a 10-hour flight from Anchorage, making it an ideal stopover point for long-haul cargo flights. And because of this, we can say that more than a remote town, Alaska is actually more of a central location. Now, cargo planes can choose to fly right over Anchorage to their destination if they want to. But interestingly, they won't. And here's the fascinating reason for this. You see, long-haul cargo flights face a constant struggle, more like a battle between maximizing cargo and maximizing fuel. Imagine a giant cargo plane. The more goods it carries, the less space it has for fuel, and vice versa. Airlines could choose to pump the plane full of fuel for a non-stop trip, but the problem here is that it will reduce cargo space. Which is why many of these airlines need a place like Anchorage, where they can make a pit stop and refuel. This process allows them to carry less fuel on the initial leg, freeing up space for more cargo, and consequently, that'll translate into a significant boost in profit potential for airlines, since they can fill their planes with more goods, maximizing their revenue on each flight. But there's actually more to these stopovers than the mere convenience. So here's the thing. Besides its location, Anchorage has some special privileges that make it attractive to airlines, and the first is aviation fuel. Aviation fuel at Anchorage is relatively cheap, and this is because the airport is part of the foreign trade zone administered by the Port of Alaska, where the fuel arrives. What this means is that the fuel avoids duties that can boost prices elsewhere. So, unlike many other US airports, Anchorage allows foreign carriers to transfer cargo between different jets, an exemption which was secured by the late Ted Stevens in 1996 and enhanced in 2004. Although this exemption might sound like a minor detail, in the world of international shipping, it's a game changer, mainly because it streamlines the movement of goods at Anchorage, allowing airlines to consolidate cargo and optimize their routes. Imagine a cargo flight from Tokyo carrying goods destined for both Chicago and Seattle. Instead of making separate trips, the airline can offload the Seattle-bound cargo in Anchorage and transfer it onto another plane heading there directly. This flexibility saves time, money, and resources for airlines, making Anchorage an even more compelling option for their global logistics networks. Airlines are constantly looking to cut costs, and since cheaper fuel translates into lower operating costs, this could further boost the attractiveness of using Anchorage as a refueling point. Which brings me to another key importance of Anchorage, and that's e-commerce. E-commerce has revolutionized the way we shop, offering a world of products at our fingertips with just a few clicks. However, behind the convenience of online shopping lies a complex logistical web, and in this web, Anchorage is the key facilitator. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the level of cargo traffic through Anchorage surged, with scores of jets arriving daily from Asia. In order to haul these products to the lower 48 faster, these cargoes bypass big hubs such as Shanghai or Hong Kong and stop at Anchorage. And according to airport officials, the cargoes brought with them computers, cell phones, pharmaceuticals, and other products in high demand from homebound people in the lower 48. Some of these jets also carried Canadian lobster, Washington state cherries, and so much more. Altogether, Anchorage landed 3.2 million metric tons of cargo in 2020, a 15% increase from the previous year, as e-commerce boomed along the world's busiest trade route, which was from Asia to the US. Currently, there's massive improvement in delivery timelines, with major online retailers offering swift delivery options. These speedy deliveries rely heavily on efficient air cargo networks, and Anchorage, with its strategic location and efficient cargo handling, plays a vital role in ensuring that these deliveries reach customers' doorsteps within the promised time frame. No wonder delivery companies like FedEx, UPS, and DHL have their hubs here. FedEx and UPS in particular operate freight sorting hubs that move about 1/4 of the airport's landed cargo. And these companies have been revealing a series of plans for large expansions in the airport. Many of these projects were announced in 2019 as developers pursued leases for raw land around the airport, and many are now in various phases of design and engineering. These projects represent the airport's most significant chance for growth in cargo services ever, and if built, they'd provide hundreds of jobs, serving as a potential counterweight to Alaska's struggling economy. But how much air cargo potential can there be in this small city in the far north? And are expansion plans from companies the only thing that Anchorage needs to stay relevant? Well, not really, because beyond expansions from these delivery companies, Anchorage will have to make strategic moves on its own to attract more airplanes to land in this location. So what could these strategic moves be? Let's explore further. According to Darren Prokop, who was a logistics professor at the University of Alaska, the potential growth of Alaska air cargo is limited by the kinds of goods that the state exports. The expert noted that there are lots of cargo that are either transiting through or stopping at Anchorage, but there isn't much cargo originating in Alaska. And the reason for this is quite simple. The thing is, air cargo tends to consist of fragile, high-value goods like pharmaceuticals and computer chips. But Alaska mostly exports bulk natural resources like oil and minerals, seafoods, and even lumber. And these typically don't go on air cargo planes. Instead, they are shipped out on barges. So for Anchorage to stay relevant in the world of cargo and deliveries, there will need to be some changes at some point. Think about it. While long-haul jets handle the movement of bulk goods across continents, there is a growing demand for efficient and swift transportation of smaller, time-sensitive cargo within Alaska and surrounding regions. Things like fresh seafood from remote Alaskan fishing villages, medical supplies for rural communities, or critical parts for machinery in oil fields. These goods require a different approach, an approach that can't be effectively served by the massive cargo planes that dominate Anchorage's airspace. So the airport needs to establish itself not just as a hub for large cargoes, but smaller planes as well. And who knows, this could be happening pretty soon. For instance, Alaska Cargo and Cold Storage have disclosed plans to build a warehouse next to the runway with refrigerated storage facilities, the first of its kind at the airport. This partnership is aimed at developing a secure, climate-controlled warehouse facility within the Anchorage airport. A facility that will serve as a cold storage gateway between America, Asia, and Europe, further integrating Alaska into the global cold chain and providing Anchorage with a critical piece of infrastructure at one of the world's busiest cargo airports. The storage will have an approximate footprint of 700,000 square feet and will be up to 75 feet tall, based on the airport regulations. It will also offer cold storage and warm storage, quick cargo, general warehousing options, logistics services, and auxiliary space for tenant offices. That means more salmon could be shipped to the restaurants in the lower 48. And it might also heighten the demand for Alaska peonies, since the state is the only place in the world where the popular flower is available during summer months. Another interesting way to open up the airport is to build a maintenance hangar to provide mechanical work for jumbo jets at the airport's southern end. And luckily, IC Alaska is already making plans for this, according to John Tchaikovsky, who is the managing partner at IC Alaska. The project will change Anchorage from the equivalent of a standalone gas pump into a full-service station. We may also get to see cargo facilities in the future. Although Anchorage has the permit to allow foreign carriers to legally transfer cargo between jets at the airport, carriers have been reluctant to take advantage of this exemption. In fact, many worry that since it's illegal everywhere else, it also might be illegal in Anchorage. Similarly, the process often requires timing jet schedules, and this usually results in a lot of delays. So if these new facilities are built, foreign jets can still transfer products without having to worry if the other jet has arrived. And they can do it more efficiently and at more convenient times at the cargo facilities. So what's the deal? Anchorage sits at a very strategic position geographically, but will probably have to do a lot more to get other airlines coming in. According to Darren Prokop, expanding cargo facilities could entice new businesses to set up shop at the airport, but only if they understand its global orientation. However, in the long term, Anchorage should see continued gains in cargo because of the strong demand in the US for products from Asian countries. And maybe at some point in the future, Alaska would need to start manufacturing one of those high-value products in order to realize its air cargo potential. The story of Anchorage's rise to air cargo supremacy is a testament to the power of strategic location, effective policy, and a bit of good old-fashioned business sense. It may not be the most glamorous aspect of the aviation industry, but the constant buzz of cargo planes over Anchorage serves as a reminder that sometimes the most unlikely players can become global leaders in unexpected ways. And remember, cargo activity is responsible for much of the employment at the airport. It is estimated that the airport supports about 10% of the jobs in Anchorage, with companies like FedEx and UPS constantly hiring a significant number of workers at the airport. So right now, there is a lot of optimism that cargo services in Anchorage will stay strong, and this increases the possibility that many of its expansion projects will be built.